According to people familiar with the matter, Apple plans to move the assembly of all US-bound iPhones to India, starting as early as next year. This isn't just a tweak to its operations. It's a dramatic, high-stakes pivot away from China, fueled in large part by rising political tensions, aggressive tariffs, and a broader effort to diversify its supply chain. Apple has long relied on China as its manufacturing powerhouse. For nearly 2 decades, China has been the heart of Apple's operations, housing its most advanced production facilities, run by partners like Foxconn. These are vast, highly coordinated ecosystems that have helped Apple maintain its edge as one of the most valuable companies in the world. But the US-China relationship has grown more complicated in recent years. During President Donald Trump's administration, sweeping tariffs were introduced on Chinese goods, including technology and electronics. These tariffs hit hard, and Apple felt it. After a series of announcements, more than $700 billion was wiped from Apple's market value. To respond, Apple began quietly exploring alternatives. One of those alternatives was India. At first, India was just a supplementary hub. A way to hedge bets, to take some pressure off the risks of being too dependent on China. But now, Apple's ambitions for India are much bigger. The company's new target is clear. By the end of 2026, every single iPhone sold in the United States should be assembled in India. That means more than 60 million devices every year. To do that, Apple will need to double its iPhone output in India. It's a huge operational challenge, but also a bold strategic one. It's worth pausing to understand just how big of a change this is. Apple's supply chain isn't just a set of factories. It's a finely tuned, incredibly precise network that operates at massive scale. Everything from component sourcing to logistics to final assembly happens with tight deadlines, consistent quality, and near-perfect reliability. Apple has spent nearly 2 decades refining that system in China. Recreating that in India is no small task. And yet, the wheels are already turning. Apple has been steadily expanding its footprint in India in recent years. Companies like Foxconn and Tata Electronics, both key partners, have ramped up their operations. New factories have been built. Workers have been trained. Equipment has been moved. The infrastructure is being laid brick by brick. And there's urgency behind it. As the US continued imposing tariffs on Chinese goods, including tech products, Apple began exporting some of its India-assembled iPhones to the US, a stopgap move to dodge the tariff hikes. But now, the company is going further. It wants to permanently shift production, not just as a reaction to tariffs, but as a long-term safeguard. Of course, Apple still faces some obstacles. While assembly is the final stage of iPhone production, the company remains heavily reliant on Chinese suppliers for key components, microchips, screens, camera modules, and more. These parts are still mostly made in China and then shipped to India for final assembly. To speed things up, Foxconn and Tata have even started importing pre-assembled component sets from China directly into India, cutting down on logistical complexity. It's not an ideal setup, but it's a necessary one as Apple works to shift more and more of its production ecosystem to India. Meanwhile, the global trade landscape continues to shift. Trump's original tariff strategy included so-called reciprocal tariffs of over 100% on imports from China. Smartphones got a temporary break from the highest tariffs, but they're still subject to a flat 20% rate. India, for its part, was also hit with a 26% reciprocal tariff on exports to the US, but that's currently paused as New Delhi and Washington work toward a bilateral trade deal. Recently, US Vice President J.D. Vance visited India and confirmed that very good progress is being made. If a favorable trade agreement comes through, it could further accelerate Apple's shift to Indian manufacturing. It's important to recognize that this isn't just about tariffs. It's about resilience. The pandemic showed how vulnerable global supply chains can be. Lockdowns in China, particularly in regions where Apple's key suppliers operate, caused severe disruptions. At times, Apple had to delay product shipments because production lines were frozen. Those experiences pushed Apple to think beyond cost efficiency and focus on supply chain flexibility. India offers an alternative. A rising industrial base, a young workforce, a government eager to support tech investment, and, crucially, a strategic partner for the US. Daniel Newman, CEO of the Futurum Group, put it this way: we're watching, in real time, how a company with Apple's resources is moving at light speed to address tariff risks and long-term strategic exposure. India, for its part, has welcomed Apple's expansion. Local governments have offered tax incentives, streamlined infrastructure approvals, and promoted skill development. The goal is to become not just a backup option, but a true global manufacturing center. Of course, all eyes are now on Apple's upcoming earnings report, expected next week. Investors are eager to understand how all these changes, tariffs, production shifts, and geopolitical risks, are affecting the company's bottom line. True to form, Apple has said very little. The company has provided no specific guidance and continues to decline direct comments on the matter. But insiders say Apple CEO Tim Cook remains in regular contact with the U.S. administration, ever since attending President Trump's inauguration in 2017. Cook is known for his diplomatic skill, and his ability to navigate political currents has been key to Apple's strategy in this turbulent era. So, what does this mean for consumers? In the short term, not much. Your next iPhone will still look, feel, and function the same. But flip it over in a year or two, and you might notice something new. The words, "assembled in India." Behind that label is a much bigger story, about trade wars, global strategy, and the future of tech manufacturing. Apple's shift to India is more than a reaction to tariffs. It's a signal. A sign that even the most powerful companies in the world aren't immune to global politics, and that they must adapt quickly or risk falling behind. By 2026, Apple wants every iPhone sold in the US to be assembled in India. If they succeed, it could redefine not just their own operations, but the entire blueprint of global technology manufacturing. And that's a change worth watching.